go through the submissions you have made, and I'm trying to organize the submissions. And the evaluation has already started. So I'm going roll number wise, and some four groups may have received my comments also. I expect to finish the evaluation by Sunday, and after that, any group who wants to talk to me or want to come back, we will be happy to discuss things. And then perhaps I'm planning to create a playlist on YouTube which contains all your innovation projects, and then it can be shared with the classroom for others to see. Uh, there is one problem I'm facing. I'm finding it very difficult to track the individual contribution from the point of view of classroom private comments. I think it was a bad idea on my part. So I'm really struggling with that. But I think I'll try to come up with a solution for that, and I'll request you again to just copy paste your individual contributions in some format. So give me 1 or 2 days to think more about it, and I'll let you know. And I'm very proud of all of you that despite the online medium and virtual classes going on, all of you have put in so much of efforts to work together and to create the video. I know creating a video with voiceover is not easy, especially when you are sitting at different places. And for that, I truly respect all of you. Thank you for putting in the efforts.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
So today we will read about Internet of Things. So before I formally start, this is an introductory lecture, introduction to Internet of Things. By no means it's perfect, and I know that theory perhaps can help you in understanding the concept, but how to do will be more important. And for that, I have invited an external speaker who has worked in the Internet of Things. And as soon as he finalizes the date, we will have that guest lecture soon. So that you are able to understand what he will be discussing with all of you, I think it's good to understand what IoT is and to have a fair amount of idea. And earlier the lecture's topic was smart homes, but then I thought that smart homes is just one of the application of Internet of Things. So I thought that it is better to discuss the umbrella term IoT. So that is why this lecture is about IoT. The next lecture will be on the data analytics and innovation. And following that, we will be talking about ethics and integrity in the field of innovation. So let's start off with our today's session. So before I pick up, I would like to ask all of you, what is your current level understanding of Internet of Things? What do you think in your understanding? What do you mean or what do you grasp when we say Internet of Things? What is your current understanding? Yeah.
Different things which work on internet, such as ATM machines
Yeah.
and nowadays televisions also.
Correct. So what do you mean when you say different things?
Usually, our daily activities which we perform, they become more convenient because we connect them all together by internet or something like that.
So can you think of any use case example?
Um,
You see, in science, it is always important to go beyond abstract and use examples to not only understand things on our own, but also to help others understand. So that is why the approach to explain something using examples is something that I really emphasize on. That is why I encourage you to think of examples. Anyone else wants to share their current understanding of Internet of Things?
I'm doing things automatically, like जो घर में लाइट वगैरह होती है उनको ऑटोमेटिक बंद करना.
Yeah. उनका ऑटोमेटिक बंद
Alexa.
करना, या Alexa, correct. So the thing is that Internet of Things is basically about connecting things on cloud or through the medium of internet, which may or may not have been devised to be specifically internet devices. So for example, Internet of Things consists of a lot of objects, but smartphones and laptops may not necessarily be considered a part of Internet of Things. In fact, there would be other such devices which will form a more prominent part of Internet of Things as we see. So basically, Internet of Things, as the word suggests, it's an internet of multiple things. It's a network of physical objects which are embedded with sensors, software, and other technologies for purpose of connecting and exchanging data with other devices and systems over the internet. So there are three terms we immediately notice. There are sensors, there are softwares, and there are certain other technologies which are required to seamlessly achieve what the IoT is trying to achieve. Now, what do you think would be the role of sensors, embedded sensors in devices? And give me some examples of sensors that you know.
Gyro sensors in mobile.
Yeah,
Camera sensor.
yeah.
LiDAR sensor.
Which sensor?
LiDAR.
Oh, LiDAR sensor, yes.
Yeah.
Infrared sensor.
Yeah, so what are all these sensors doing?
Transferring signals.
After receiving? They're collecting the data.
Yes,
Yeah.
collecting and transferring both.
Collecting and transferring. So essentially, for any decision to be made, we need input information, and this input information generally comes through sensors. So for example, if you look at mobile phones 10 years previously, we hardly had heart rate sensors on your mobiles, but nowadays I think most of us have heart rate sensors on the back of our mobile, which is directly connected to the fitness application also sometimes. So, as technology is growing, it is increasing the availability of different sensors to the people. In fact, there are sensors in agriculture also, like moisture sensor, like water level sensor, which can automatically help in regulating the irrigation in the fields and test that for a particular level of irrigation in a particular weather, what is the impact on the yield of the crops. Software, as we know, helps us to analyze this data that the sensor is connecting. Now, analysis obviously after the data is cleaned and prepared. We must always remember that even though the sensor is collecting some data, we still need to always check it before analyzing to see that if its value is falling in a range in which it's acceptable. Sometimes garbage values can also be collected, especially when the sensor is working on a continuous basis. So, sensor as a tool is collecting the information. After that, it's human intelligence that comes into picture when we go to analyze that collected data. That human aspect is really very important. So when we talk about Internet of Things, thing can refer to multiple items, and it's not just limited to these that I've mentioned. It could be a medical device, and it could be a connected automobile with sensors that alert the driver to other possible issues. And these are just few of the examples I have written. In fact, there is no limit. In fact, according to a research, there are as many objects connected on the internet, which is far exceeding the population of the world. So by this, you can estimate that how much connected our world has become. And with the advantages of connection, there are obviously the dangers also associated with being a part of an extremely connected society. In fact, most of you in your projects have also addressed this issue. So, in one sentence, IoT is taking all the things in the world and making them equipped such that they can communicate with other devices on the internet. So, obviously, that hardware is required when we talk about things, and they have to have a software in which they can process the information and transfer the information and then interact with other devices on the internet. So, normally, when something is connected on the internet, it means that it can send information or receive information and sometimes even process the information. So, for example, most of you use the song streaming app on your smartphone. Now, it's not that your phone does not have the storage in which your songs have been already pre-fed. It is trying to access those songs from server from some other area, and your mobile is able to connect to that place. And this way, even though your device may not have the size also and may not have the songs in the memory, you are still able to listen to those songs. This in it's a very short example, it's a very small example of Internet of Things. So as it's mentioned, to be smart, the thing doesn't have to be a super storage or have a supercomputer inside. We just need it to have the right kind of hardware and software to connect to some other devices which can facilitate its functioning. So basically there are three categories into which all the things that are connected to internet can be put up. Things that collect information and relay it to some other devices, things that receive information and act on it. So when we say about acting on the received information, that essentially means some kind of analysis and processing of the information. So generally we use information as a very go-to word, but there are levels. So data gives rise to information if it's processed. The information then becomes knowledge, and it is ultimately knowledge mining from the data that helps. So even though I'm saying things that receive information, what it is essentially receiving is the data which it is working on it to form some kind of information, and then this information becomes knowledge as per the context of the work. So basically the things that are on internet are continuously doing these three types of operations. So as you have already mentioned, when it comes to collecting and sending information, we need sensors. And sensors cost has also decreased considerably over the period of time. And for example, there are temperature sensors, motion sensors. So for all these sensors, can you think of the situations in which such sensors are required? Where would you be most likely to use temperature sensors? In what kind of situations? So where do you think temperature or motion or the sensors that I've listed, where do you find them most applicable?
Most applicable they would be in like wildlife sanctuaries and
Yeah,
zoo.
how?
Ma'am, like to keep track of animals,
So when
like
you
those which are endangered for those.
okay, and how would you use these sensors to track the endangered animals?
Ma'am, because most of the animals have different heat signatures, so that could be useful.
Yeah.
I mean, also healthcare also we can use it to matlab, measure blood pressure or heartbeats.
Yeah, we can for continuous monitoring of clinical parameters in the body. We can use these sensors.
Yeah.
Where would you find air quality sensors to be used?
Ma'am, during the rocket
Metropolitan cities.
During the rocket?
launch, because
Yeah.
we need a clean atmosphere during launch.
Okay. And someone also mentioned in the metropolitan where the traffic and
Yes,
congestion is quite prominent. There we
yes.
would need air quality sensors. In fact, Canada has established air quality sensors at most of the places in the country, and by that they have come with a sort of city level index to identify which city's air is most clean and which one is not. And that itself helps the government, you know, chalk out programs that can help in improving the air quality of that area. So, and there is no end to the kind of sensors that we can use. And sensors, when connected, allow us to automatically collect information from the environment, which allows us to make more intelligent decisions. So, basically, what sensors are doing is providing us information that we can analyze later on. And for example, in agriculture also, most of the students in your class have targeted agriculture as their innovation problem, and some of them have also talked about the inclusion of sensors to improve the agriculture in India and the situation of farmers. So the first aspect that we see is that when we talk about multiple things that are connected on internet, in some mechanism they are collecting lots and lots of information. Sometimes it's the information of people also, and sometimes it's the information about related to our environment in which we are living. So the kind of information that we need, or the kind of data to be more accurate we need, depends on the objective of which we are collecting the information, because on the basis of that only we will be able to take better decisions as to which device has to be used, and when the data is received what kind of analysis has to be done. Then second, after collecting the information and receiving, comes the acting on the information. So otherwise, data is considered to be the new oil. If and it's increasing at the huge speed. So every day lots and lots of data is getting collected. And in this times of rapid expansion on the with the degree of which the data is getting collected, it becomes extremely important to separate garbage from information. And to separate garbage from the information, you must remember this rule. If you're trying to create any system, if you give garbage as an input, the output will be garbage. So garbage in, garbage out. So just because we have lots and lots of data, we have fantastic machine learning and AI techniques, does not mean that we have to keep our brains aside and just randomly play with data. No, it has to be very intentional. The way we act on that data to glean insight, to extract insight, has to have a very solid conceptual basis. Then only the information that is collected by Internet of Things becomes really useful. Otherwise, any insight which is divorced from the context and isolated from the meaning it is creating is just a technical experiment which will fail to resonate with the people for which you are creating your solutions. And essentially, that is why IoT extends the power of internet beyond just computers and smartphones. For example, you must have seen automatic vacuum cleaners also, not in India, but there is an actuator. If you're sitting in your office and you did not have time to clean up your house, you can actuate the vacuum cleaner and it can clean your home by the time you are back. So basically the IoT is, and when it was proposed, it was after 10 years that it actually became a part and parcel of our lives, because that time there was no proper hardware or software to integrate this concept into the real life stage. So it now it has picked up, but it's quite an old technology, but that time the technology was not very developed to allow for Internet of Things. So there's a short video I want you to see that will help you in understanding Internet of Things. So is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So that was the short video on Internet Things. I'm not sure how many of you have used the Yulu cycles. Anyone knows about those cycles?
No, ma'am.
So there's this company. I'm not sure if it's called Yulu or Zulu. But I think, yeah, it's called Yulu. The thing is that they have, in order to make traveling more convenient and to promote people to opt for like cycling as a medium of transportation for at least nearby places, what these people have done is they have installed a set of cycles at different areas in a local. So basically in Bangalore, I found it
Ma'am,
that,
in Karnat place, I have traveled by this cycle.
yeah. So tell us about it. How
Ma'am,
does it work? Yeah.
when I went there, ma'am, they just told me to download an app,
Yeah.
and then in the cycle there is a mark scanner. Scan, we can scan that mark, and our cycle number is installed in this that app,
Yeah.
and I can travel in the whole area with the cycle, and we I have to give five 1 rupees for every 5 minutes.
Yes. 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 Yes, in fact, the idea behind is that I found it really very interesting because sometimes on weekends, friends might want to go for group cycling and not everyone would have cycles. And usually on parks also, there are cycling tracks. So, in fact, at the entry of the park, they have installed a set of cycles. You just have to install an app and scan it, and the lock is unlocked in the cycle. And then for every kilometer or per minute, you are charged, and for every subsequent kilometer you are charged considerably less. So by this, they have tackled, uh, I think, two problems. The first is that they are encouraging people to be happy, to be healthy, and second is that they understand that people are working away from their homes, away from their native places, and not everyone can buy cycles for recreation and leisure purposes. So they came up with this idea. So that is again an example of how the cycle has been connected through a device with some cloud, and then this is working seamlessly. And in fact, when something goes wrong with the cycle, you as a customer can share the glitch in the cycle, and the person who is involved in maintenance will come there and repair the cycle. So there's so much of trust that the company has bestowed on the people, and people are forming a certain kind of relationship with this company. So all because of the fact that cycle has been connected to our devices and through internet of things, through cloud, and it is helping in easing the lives of people. So that is one example in which internet of things has sort of improved the life of people. So generally, there is a misconception that when we talk about Internet of Things, it's only for devices which are generally expected to have an internet connection. But it's not the thing. In fact, PC is generally not considered as an IoT device, and neither is a smartphone, even though they are filled with sensors. Essentially, it is about the other devices which were not really created to be connected with the internet, but because they have become a part and parcel of our daily household lives and daily existence. That is why you know technique is evolving to introduce those kind of devices. For example, even as simple machines as weighing machines have been a part of internet of technology devices, such that your fitness band or your fitness app can directly communicate on daily basis. Because every morning, sometimes when we wake up, people have this habit of weighing themselves, and that data can get automatically synced up in your device. And if you're going for regular running, or in fact other kind of exercising, it can do analysis in the background and show you how your weight is improving or not improving with your workout, and draw that correlation, and then suggest you some alternative workouts and something like that. So in fact, in the domain of IoT, smartwatch and fitness bands and other wearable devices have really emerged as market winners. And by 2025, this technology is expected to grow, and there will be a lot more devices which will be connected on the internet. So the question that comes up is that what is it that has made IoT possible? Because as you saw in the video, in 1999, it was still in a very nascent stage and it did not really pick up. But in the span of 10 years, technology made rapid progress. And due to that progress, the idea of IoT was able to come to fruition. So the cost of sensor has decreased, and so now they take considerably less amount of electricity to function. I'm not sure if you have read the transistor law. Are you familiar with that law?
Ma'am, is it Moore's law?
Yeah, yeah. So what does that law say?
Ma'am, the law says that we after some time uh, the the cost of making the processors will go down, and the performance will rise by a steady rule. I am forgetting what that rule is, but that is a steady rule.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. It's actually like every decade the size of transistor gets just halved
Yeah, yeah.
in a processor.
And it's not holding now in the near future.
What do you mean by when you say that it's not holding?
Ma'am, like it has followed the same way up till now, but it is not like it will follow until forever.
Yeah, yeah. So there is always, so we always reach a saturation point or plateau point, and from that point, I think there has to be some tweak so that we can further compact the chip on which functionalities can be embedded. So there is especially a field in electronics, like very large scale integration, large scale integration, very, very large scale integration. So what they try to do is they try to decrease the size of the chip while increasing the number of functions it can do. And because of this improvement in both the chips and the sensors, IoT has become a more pervasive technology. If not in India, especially in other countries, it is very fastly picking up. And because of machine learning and analytics, and especially rapid rise in the number of algorithms and functions which can be used to analyze the data, because IoT has multiple sensors, and by sensors they are collecting different type of information. That means there is different type of data, and each data first of all needs to be very delicately studied before we can analyze it. So these machine learning and analytics techniques, which can have data as an input and try to create insights, obviously based on the human supervision. Whenever you do any kind of data analysis, always keep that skeptic alive in you. Don't be overly confident in the technology also. Always try to question the output that your technology gives you, because then you are in a better position to use technology as a tool rather than as a master. So these are some of the technologies which have rapidly developed. In fact, machine learning is still developing right now. And with the invention of quantum computing, this field is poised to rise at a higher level, and it will considerably impact how our world changes as we become more and more connected to the things on the internet. So there are certain benefits of Internet of Things for consumers, but there are also some loopholes and some caution that we must pay attention to as we become part of a world which is getting increasingly connected, and there are very few detractors. In fact, there are very few people who also debate the aspect that what are the cons of becoming a part of this highly connected world. So in some ways, obviously, Internet of Things has facilitated our day-to-day existence, be it music systems or house cleaning systems or even security systems when it comes to smart lock and stuff. Internet of Things has come very handy for the people. And in fact, traffic management is also one of the things which is being currently targeted by Internet of Things, like smartly detecting for every vehicle where is the nearest parking spot, and then trying to guide that vehicle through the shortest distance to that path so that the traffic and unnecessary parking on regular roads is minimized. This is a thing that has been implemented in Palo Alto, San Francisco. So there are certain benefits of Internet of Things in your surroundings, in your homes. Can you think of any current scheme that you are using which uses Internet of Things and you feel that it is helping in your day-to-day life or existence? Anything around your life, you can think of any example? So for example, let's say AC. Earlier, to use AC, it used to come with a remote, right? But
Yes.
nowadays, we can even use our mobile phones to operate on our house ACs. So this has absolutely removed the dependency on certain other device totally, and our mobile has become a device with which we can control our AC, our refrigerator, even our television sets. So obviously there are some palpable differences that have appeared in our lives because of Internet of Things. But of all these areas, I think industrial IoT and IoT in health have emerged as clear winners, especially when it comes to remote monitoring of health of machines. So for example, in the current lockdown, most of the factories, they have reduced the number of people who can go physically and work in those factories, but the work remains the same. And so that is why the owners might need certain intelligent devices to keep track of what is happening in the inside of their factories. In fact, inside the Amazon warehouses also, Amazon handles such a huge business. it is humanly not possible to expect that there are people who are handling all the logistics and all the items that the Amazon is selling. There obviously is an industrial part of Internet of Things which is at play in their warehouses, and it's handling its multiple informations and multiple kind of events. And it also comes into picture that IoT can be used to device security systems also, so to automatically detect if there is any possibility of any hazard inside the factory premises, or if there is any possibility of collision of two devices which are operating without any human supervision. So in a warehouse, if the transport of stuff is going on, and if there is a likelihood of collision, that also gets sidelined when it comes to analyzing the path tracking behavior of different devices which are operating in that area. So there are a lot of applications that IoT has helped in, and I think Shubhankar, when he comes up, he will be able to better guide you because he did a project in IoT, and when you talk to him, you will be better able to understand that how things really work at the fundamental level. So there are a couple of industries which have benefited from the Internet of Things. Manufacturing, automobiles. So we talk about smart cars, especially in India. They are slowly an increasing market. And transportation and logistics in big factories. Public sector, healthcare. In fact, in healthcare also, IoT has emerged as quite a good boon, not only for doctors but also for patients. So for example, if you have a mobile health app and you cannot reach your doctor, you can share your documents, and if this document is connected on some portal, you can download it, and with the download, it is not only the data but the system on the website can also analyze your data and tell you something if that needs attention, and then can bring it to the attention of your doctor, your physician, or yourself. So this is a small diagram which tries to tell about the overall popularity of IoT. So by 100%, what this chart means is that the maximum amount of products that relate to IoT have revolved around smart homes, and with respect to smart homes, so wearables occupy 63%, given the references smartphones. So what is it that you can conclude from this diagram? What is it? What are the insights that you gather when you look at this infographic?
There is a scope in development in smart farming, a very big scope.
Yes, very good. A very good insight. So a firm which has been working in the area of farming and agriculture, and they have certain amount of idea or certain concepts, they might like to pitch in into smart farming. And smart farming over the period of time is bound to increase because the world's population will increase, and because of that, that demand for food will also increase, especially grains. So in that case, farming will need to become smart with time, and it's already happening, especially in livestock uh, farming in US, where corn is grown at a large scale. There, such devices are quite prominent in use. What are the other things that you notice when you look at this infographic? So the majority of solutions, yeah,
Hello.
go on.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, with the smart homes, wearables, this looks something awesome, and people have more people are more attracted towards them instead of something like basic facilities from health connected or uh, farming.
Yeah, so you mean to say that people are more driven towards?
more driven towards such fashionable things or something which we call as cool.
Yeah. So it is increasingly becoming a woke symbol also, like people who use certain these kind of devices, because increasing number of and proportion of people are adopting such kind of solutions. Obviously, they have become sort of a style statement, especially among youngsters. And if you see, there are so many fitness bands that have emerged in our world, not necessarily saying that they are actually doing something worthwhile for the people, but we have got rid of watches. Now watches have been replaced by fitness trackers, which tell us the number of steps we have walked per day. But the question essentially remains is that for how long can you satisfy your consumers by just giving information of the number of steps they have walked day in and day out? To be able to retain your customers, the solution that you give over the period of time has to become adaptable to their needs. And for that, you have to identify their needs and then convince them that over the period of time, this is what you will require and I am willing to provide you. Otherwise, if you look at the research on fitness tracker, you will see that after 6 months, people stop using them. And that alone is a huge area for exploration and investigation as to what happens that people stop using it and how can we make it more relevant in the area such that you know it should not be just a one time investment. If you keep on providing new features to people who are already using such activity trackers, you can actually improve on your revenue generation also. Apart from that, smart door locks are very common, especially in homes where old people are living. So their children might want to take care of their parents when they are away to prevent some sort of theft at home. And smart door lock is used, but then again, it has its own cons also. Anyone can think of how would a smart door lock actually be problematic?
Ma'am, in case there is fire in home, so the device may get locked and the people would not be able to go out of the home.
Yeah. You see, the installation cost of such devices is also not small. And sometimes, yeah, anyone wants to say something? So sometimes it might happen is that what if you somehow lose that code or lose that connection with the device and you're not able to open your door at all? That way, some physical help will be required. But the thing is that sometimes when you are not at your home, Amazon can deliver your parcels also when you can give access when they come and knock at your door. So even though it sounds very exciting and fantastic, we should not get lost in the charm of technology or of internet of technology that we forget to be a skeptic. Always remember that it's good to be skeptic in a healthy manner because that only helps in the progress of science, because we question when we are skeptic, and it is essentially the art of questioning that helps in progress of science or any endeavor. So as I mentioned before, wearables form most common part of IoT application. In fact, there is a glucose monitoring device also which can detect glucose levels in the body. It's essentially a sensor placed under the skin and relays the information via radio frequency. This reminds me of another project that was proposed by one of your team members also, which was trying to detect a heart rate uh, by connecting it to a cloth accessory for a person, and that could relay the information. So that itself is again a good solution. But because most of the solutions in this area have already been proposed and already under implementation, we constantly need to think how to normalize them. Currently they are also expensive. If the technology is so very important, we have to again think of how to reduce the price and then automatically increase the availability and accessibility by people. Smart traffic management system is a reality in abroad. So there are sensors which are installed at parking spots, and these sensors pass whether the parking is occupied or not, and then they can communicate. So the drivers can communicate via cloud and identify the most near parking spot and then try to reach, and this way the traffic can be managed. So these things were very unheard of some years back, but it is because of, first of all, there was a relevant problem. So parking has been a problem for quite some time, and as a driver it is very difficult for people to know which are the viable spots for parking. So because of use of internet of things and the ability to question and to solve the problem, someone came up with this solution of smart cities, and traffic management system is one of the solutions which are examples which make a city smart. And this has been possible obviously because of internet of things, and there are many other things that are waiting to happen also, and research is going in this area, especially in foreign universities. They are working quite closely to identify a lot of solutions to, in fact, environmental degradation also using IoT technologies. This is another example of a smart greenhouse. So no manual intervention is required. There are sensors which are installed in the greenhouse. They can constantly monitor the vitals of the plants, of the soil, and based on some kind of intervention which is given by smartphone, which is used as a remote control, the data from sensors can be used, and actuators, which are nothing but devices which convert control signal into mechanical signals. So they can be activated, and the greenhouse can function as per the environment in the greenhouse. So for those of you who are trying to create some kind of solution in their innovation projects, I have asked you to draw a layout or map which discusses the pipeline or the chain of your solution. So this could be a good example which you may look at as an analog to provide you that how your different elements in your solutions will work. So when I say that, this is essentially what I mean. But obviously, this is a very simplistic diagram because it is just showing a smart greenhouse. But the information is very clear that a cloud is involved, and then there is a connection gateway which is connected via a duplex channel to the greenhouse and to the sensors and actuators in the greenhouse. And when a person is sitting at the comfort of their homes, they can just relay a signal and the activity can happen in the greenhouse. So the traveling time has been minimized. The number of people dependency has been minimized. Obviously, the cost has come up in the form of sensors and actuators. So obviously, the technology which needs less people will need more money or single time investment, which decreases over the period of time to install the devices and all. But long term, it may sound fruitful to the users of the solution. Another example that we have already discussed is how the industry has been automated using the IoT application, especially in tracking the products in transit and handling of logistics and infrastructure. There is no end to the examples of usage of IoT in our world around. Through these, I'm just trying to bring to your notice the most prominent fields in which IoT has been used. And because that helps is in bringing a context to the world around and how it is changing in front of our own eyes, and how different problems that we thought needed to be solved are actually being solved by the usage of technology. So it is essentially, first, it's always about the problems. First, you have to identify the problem. When the problem has been identified and you have evidenced that problem is actually a problem that needs to be solved, there is no way that technology cannot play a role in solving that problem. There is always some way in which technology will facilitate in solving of that problem, if not entirely, then partially. So that is why throughout the course, I always emphasize on the part that spend more and more time about identification of the problem, understanding the problem, getting even with the problem. Because when we are aware of what is going on, then we become much more in a better position to be able to design something, or in fact, before designing, to think about something that can help in easing the lives of people who are suffering from that problem. Now, we have talked about the advantages of Internet of Things, but there are obviously certain disadvantages also that come up with living in a connected world. So, security is one of the problems. So, we talk about security breach and cyber attacks and phishing and all these things. How do you think that the extreme connection of things over the cloud or over the internet, how can it be detrimental to you? So if I pick up one student from your class or any student, how do you think, if something has to go wrong with internet of things in security aspect or in privacy aspect, how will it impact your life? What is the danger that you might experience if the security breach is there in internet of things?
People may know our banking account number.
Yeah, so banking fraud can occur, scams can occur. Definitely, you can lose a lot of your money also. That is one thing.
Our cameras may be our
Cameras.
Like
privacy.
cyberbullying can happen.
Ma'am, like now the WhatsApp is asking for every private details of person, so
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
risking the privacy of the person.
Every
Yes, ma'am.
private detail of the person, meaning?
Ma'am, now the WhatsApp has introduced UPI payments, so they are asking about bank accounts and all
Uh,
and everything. So everything is exposed to them.
so
मैम
without.
प्राइवेसी पॉलिसी भी चेंज कर दी
Acha.
प्राइवेसी पॉलिसी
Ma'am,
भी
they
चेंज
will they can share the data to Facebook too now.
Yes,
मैम
ma'am.
बहुत सी वेबसाइट्स को और भी शेयर कर देगा वो
But WhatsApp was purchased by Facebook some time back.
अरे
यस
सही
मैम
से बोले यार उसकी प्राइवेसी पॉलिसी
So the obviously the idea behind WhatsApp, Facebook purchasing WhatsApp was वही कि उनको अपना एक ecosystem बनाना है. So
या
that,
सो दैट they can profit from that data or something.
yeah, and most of the times people are at the receiving end because they don't even know that their data is being used for certain purposes, and they are kept in disguise. And that is why Facebook even had, was sued also and was tried at the courts in USA also and asked to change its privacy policies. And cyberbullying, someone mentioned. Could you please elaborate on how Internet of Things or the highly connected nature could play a role in cyberbullying?
Ma'am, like someone can blackmail us for like uploading for like threatening to
Yeah,
upload a picture or something.
correct. In fact, I'm not sure if I have shared this unfortunate incidents with you, but I was also a victim of highly interconnected information. It was, I think I have shared this with you. So there are scams, especially when students from other countries go to other foreign countries to study. So they are generally not aware of how things work over there. And the embassies over there sometimes can be duplicated. And people can call you to say that your visa has expired, and to prevent any incarceration charges or arrest charges, you need to submit a certain amount, 50,000 max, to sort this case out. And people, because they already knew your passport and they knew your documents and everything, and still they first convince you that they are an authentic party. Once they have believed that you believe in them, then they try to extort money out of you. So this credit card scam and debit card scam, and in fact, making people apprehensive when it comes to government documents is also becoming quite common. And don't fall in for advertisements that talk about participating in certain kind of event to win a certain amount of money. Almost always they are some bots to take some of your information and then use it perhaps to your detriment. So as more and more data is getting collected, there are threats to this person's health also. So for example, if there is a high person, is a high official whose most of the health data is connected via apps and via EMRs, which is electronic medical records, and he or she has some adversity, and if the hackers can get into their data, they might try to create a situation in which the person's health might deteriorate. So it can be used as a direct attack also to the person concerned. So there are certain things that we need to talk about and be wary about. So when tomorrow when you also install some IoT device in your homes or in some apps in your mobile phones, you must be very careful about their privacy policies. In fact, today I read a innovation project Walnut. I really like the idea that they are trying to detect whether the information that the app is requesting is actually relevant to the function of the app. I think even though this information is very important, it will create a huge difference in the lives of people who just tend to accept the agreement without even reading about it. And this is what the companies take advantage of. So if you actually read the terms and agreements of any app, you will later notice that how they are going to use it. And right, Instagram also poses a lot of challenges when it comes to a person's private life. And these things are greatly related to the mental health of a person also. So, as much as connecting is important, we must always draw a boundary. And this boundary is different for every person. And you cannot draw the boundary for someone else. You can draw the boundary for yourself. So, how much you are going to allow technology to become a part of your life, that such that you know some aspects of your life are not compromised, and that becomes increasingly important as lots and lots of things are connected on internet and are bound to connect on the internet. Obviously when something is indispensable, then we have to become a part of the system. So you cannot order an Ola or Uber by call. You have to have an app and you have to book your ride, so that is indispensable. But when there are choices, and so for example when it comes to social media, most of the people have decided not to be a part of that revolution or that movement because they are conscious about their data getting leaked out in the public, and they may not know how it may be used. And we live in a world which is highly judgmental about so many things, and most people are not very comfortable sharing their information. So always be wary about what kind of information you are sharing on the internet, what kind of apps you're installing, read their privacy agreements. And later on, when you also develop your apps, no, people will actually respect you if in your terms and conditions you respect the need for their data confidentiality and privacy. I think this has emerged at the same pace at which data have increased. Lots and lots of conferences in the field of cybersecurity and data analysis have this track. So different conferences have different tracks. They have a track purely dedicated to data, confidentiality and privacy and scams in the current world. So as much important it is to talk about the inclusion of technology, as the users and consumers of technology, we must ask ourselves what is that boundary beyond which I will not allow technology to become a part of my active life. So, Internet of Things privacy, also hacking, as we all know, is something which has cost world a lot, and in fact, big businesses or never immune from the hacking threats, and that is why some of the companies are very wary of sharing their information with outside. So, for example, Samsung Korea, uh, until now, it never allowed its employees to work from home, because when employees work from home, they are connected to the internet connection, which may not be secure enough as is the companies. But it was only during the lockdown period that Samsung had to release its work from home policy so that the business could continue. And so big companies especially very vulnerable to the threats of hackers, and because lots and all the source code of all the application and the devices that they have made is on the cloud, so that is why, because of the internet of things and increased connectivity, privacy becomes a very big issue. And there are many cases in which companies sue each other, wherein the employee of one company tried to hack into the source code of other company and try to gain information about their next launch or next product. So this is very prominent, and that is why IoT still has to work hard. So this field has to work slightly more hard, in fact, to take into the account that as much as we have become more connected, but it should not come at the cost of privacy breach or confidentiality issues in the users. Because if consumers or if customers see that something wrong has gone and they have been caught in amidst the chaos because their data has leaked, then the loyalty of customers in the technology will greatly plummet, and that will not be very good for internet of things. And because there are so many devices that are connected on the internet, there is a beautiful prospect of using data analytics to create insights. And that is one thing that most of the researchers are working on. And especially, because not all the data is open source. That is one issue. But when most of the data is open source, Internet of Things can be used to say something about the population level, if not the individual level. Then that would greatly exceed and accelerate the speed with which insights in the world are getting generated, and that will help in improving the world in certain manner. So, for example, every fitness app has its own server and has its own database schema in which it collects the data. Now, if a user uses Fitbit, but after 6 months he or she switches to Nike Plus Plus or Runtastic, so is there any mechanism in which, through the interoperability between these three apps, the user's data is held intact such that it can be migrated from one platform to another? Sadly, it does not exist right now. But there is obviously a reason that companies disagree to this aspect, because they may not be comfortable making the database schema homogeneous. And because of that, sometimes there is a possibility of leakage of data also. But on the other side, if the apps would work in a common framework to acquire the data of people, then big data analytics could greatly leverage on that aspect. And the main problem with these devices and the health records is that only that connect is lacking. And people, so different clinics use different forms, different hospitals collect data of people in different manner, and because of this heterogeneity in the multiple partners which are trying to provide the same solution, it becomes increasingly difficult to deploy intelligence on patients data. This is something which is slowly changing, and hopefully with the data integrating solutions, this will change as time comes by. But if you have to take something back from this lecture, I would surely encourage you to become a participant of the technology and learn how it is helping you in your life. But always be skeptic and wary about the fact that you're not allowing technology to cross a certain boundary of your personal lives. So this is essentially some of the concerns that I wanted to raise it is always up to us to decide how much space we want to give to technology. And internet, as we know, has actually become a crime spot also, especially with fake sites, fake companionship sites in which people try to project something or someone they are not, and then they try to dupe others also. So it has also become a breeding ground for several of the crimes also, and cyberbullying, as someone mentioned. So the idea is not to be carried away by the revolution in the technology, but try to identify that healthy pivot point at which what I want to gain out of technology is also kept in intact and not at the cost of uh, snooping on our lives. So that was about the Internet of Technologies. Shubhankar will be giving you a practical demonstration of some of the projects that he has done in IoT. In fact, that will help you gain a broader understanding of Internet of Technologies as a concept because you are in first year. I encourage you to play with IoT and do some kind of project, maybe in your first semester, first year break or second year project. That will help you to learn more about this kind of technology. In the next one, we will talk about uh, data analytics in innovation and research. So I will want to give a brief overview of data analysis and the important topics that we often do not talk about when we talk about data analysis. I think that is very important to know as you start off your journey as computer science engineers. And hopefully we will have a external speaker session on IoT practical implementations as well. So that was from my end. If you have any questions, kindly let me know.
మన ఫిక్స్డ్ చెప్తున్నావు టైం అయిపోయినాక 2 minutes అయిపోయింది ఇంక అందరు మైక్ ఆన్ చేసారు థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్ ఆడు చెప్పేది అర్థం కాక మొత్తం ట్యాంకులతో నింపి పెడుతుంది
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So, did we miss out on the connection part?
No, ma'am.